But we begin with Oklahoma, the state that has now passed the most extreme abortion ban in America, outlawing the procedure from the moment of fertilization. The bill borrows a page from Texas by putting enforcement in the hands of private individuals who can sue anyone who helps a person get an abortion. Oklahoma is just the latest state to pass an abortion ban ahead of a Supreme Court ruling that could strike down Roe versus Wade. But the bans are getting more and more extreme, and the justifications by anti-abortion activists are getting more unhinged. Like this leader of an anti-abortion group who Republican members of Congress called as an expert witness to testify under oath at a hearing this week. Take a look.
Human persons from their earliest days, poisoned in the womb and dismembered, torn limb from limb. Bodies thrown in medical waste bins and in places like Washington, D.C., burned to power the lights of the city's homes and streets.
She was serious. She said all of that with a straight face. Is this your queen? Really? She said electricity in D.C. is powered by burning aborted fetuses with a straight face. Of course, she didn't present any evidence at all because it's completely outlandish and not true. And that is the voice of the anti-abortion movement, or at least one of them in this moment. And here are some of the mainstream Republican voters in Georgia talking about the issue of abortion in a recent focus group conducted by MSNBC political analyst Elise Jordan.
If I were governor, I would call in the legislature under special session and ask them to ban abortions in Georgia.
Does that make you more likely to support David Perdue for governor in the primary?
No.
Less.
Less.
Yeah, less. Why does it make you less likely?
My body, my choice, not the government's.
But Marty, you're very pro-life, so why does that make you less likely?
Women get this much of a voice on the topic. Men should have this much voice on the topic. And I think reasonable limits make sense. Viable outside the womb at 20 weeks, I think. You got to answer to the guy upstairs if it happens after that.
Us is Democratic Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks of California. First of all, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you very much, Zerlina, for having me. Excited to be here with you.
So, Assemblywoman, I'd like to start by getting your reaction to Oklahoma's extreme abortion ban. It's the strictest in America, and the governor is expected to sign it.
Simply put, it's horrific. I think it shows an utter lack of respect and dignity for people in terms of their ability to make their own decisions about if, when, and how they want to have a child. And I think it's a scary trend that we're seeing across this country. And that's why here in California, we are standing up and saying we are a reproductive freedom state for all.
One of the things in this particular bill that I found interesting, it's different from some of the other abortion bans we've seen. This actually does include exceptions for rape or incest, but only if the rape or incest was reported to the police. I mean, lay out some of the problems with that requirement specifically.
Well, so many people don't have faith in the criminal justice system. They don't have faith in law enforcement. And so there's a serious problem of underreporting of rape and incest. So that argument is very flawed. And I think what you're seeing is just more and more extreme abortion ban bills, and assuming Roe v. Wade overturns, which I think, that's a safe assumption given the recent leak, we're going to have about half of our country who has very limited, restricted, or no access to safe and legal abortion. And it's just scary times for folks living in those states, especially if you're low income. And we know that this will disproportionately impact people of color in this situation, as do many of our unfair laws and systems in this nation. And that's why it's important that we in states that value people's dignity and their ability to make choices, stand up and do the right thing and make sure that we are prepared here to accept those that need help.
In terms of what your state of California is doing, you mentioned the states that believe in protecting bodily autonomy should do the most they can to protect those rights. How are you going about doing that in terms of at least being a refuge for those women and people who can get pregnant from other states where these bans are in place?
Yeah, so what we anticipate to happen is when Roe v. Wade is overturned, we believe there will be at least 1.4 million people who will seek care here in California. And that is what we are preparing for, and we need to be ready for that. So it's ensuring both on the legal front that in the state of California, it is enshrined in our Constitution that one can have access to safe and legal abortion here. So there's going to be a ballot measure on the ballot this year that we believe will pass pretty handily, because we do believe these are our California values. And the second point, which is really important, is access. So, we have some legislation. There's 13 bills going through the legislature right now. I'm the lead author on one of those bills. They range from, the state creating a fund that philanthropic money can be given to pay for travel and lodging and logistical support for people that would be coming to California. We're also looking to ensure that our nurse practitioners with specific training can provide first trimester abortions, because we do believe our clinics will be at capacity, or that could be an issue. We're also making sure that we're diversifying our workforce. And we know that the racial inequities that exist in healthcare are profound, particularly for women, particularly for pregnant women. And so making sure that, folks look like you when you go to receive care. So those are some of the things that we're doing here. And we're really just trying to buttress up our infrastructure in the event when this does happen. And I know other states are following suit, but we want to make sure folks know that our values are that people have, as you said, body autonomy, and that we have the ability to make these decisions on our own.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.